All right, folks. So the 10th fetter. Now I haven't broken the ninth or 10th fetters, and to be honest, I'm not even sure if I've broken the eighth because it seems like the eighth and ninth and 10th kind of bleed into each other. So this is just me kind of riffing as I grapple with them. I'm not an expert, I'm not a teacher, and I'm not someone who feels drawn to closely study doctrine or maps. Just on the path and just whatever resonates with me at a given time. I play with it. So, obviously the Fetter map is very rough. A map is never close to the territory. Like, you can't compare the Rand McNally Road Atlas with the state of Arizona, for example. Like, it's not the same thing at all, not even close. And spiritual realms are that much less comprehensible and linear and mappable. Everything interpenetrates everything else in a way that our minds and our maps can't really set down in one or two dimensions. Um, but at least it's a jumping off point for this exploration, something to talk about. So um, a way to think about it so that, like as always, you can sort of calm down the mind and eventually get rid of all the thoughts and maps and stuff. So anyway, so even after the eighth fetter does fall, the realization no self doesn't immediately make its way all the way into the body. So that's the ninth fetter is sensation still rising up against the flow of life with an apparent feeling or belief that there's a better version of reality other than what's happening now, and there's something I need to do or can do about it to get to that better version. Um, and it's funny because I've always noticed this pull in myself, even when there's like a basketball game on TV or like a movie or a TV show that it's already been written, filmed, edited, and broadcast, right? But there's still a feeling in my gut that wants to make something better happen, even in a movie or NBA game. Like somehow my will can change it, right? Now, there's a danger at this point of taking this kind of at a simplistic face value. Like, I know life is not really a movie, um, and breaking this fetter is not like fatalistic or even necessarily deterministic. It doesn't mean that once the ninth fetter falls, you can't quit your job or move to a new country or write a book denouncing fascism or whatever you want to do. Um, the point is the restlessness will follow you. You'll always feel like something is wrong or missing, even if you have a whole fleet of yachts and servants and can go to any beautiful tropical location you want at any moment, right? The restlessness will always be there unless you uproot it at the source. Um, and you can see the source of all suffering can be boiled down to one thing, which is the desire for a version of reality to exist other than what is. At some point, if you want to live in this world and kind of relax in it, you have to slow down and take a breath and realize actually this is it. This is it. Um, we all have the same basic ingredients, even if they take different forms, right? We have food, water, shelter, friends, family, trees, plants, animals, sky, moon, stars, chores, right? Um, and sometimes it's actually the rich people who suffer the most because they keep thinking their wealth and status should give them this real and lasting satisfaction, and it literally cannot. It's not. That's not. It's not how things work, and it makes them crazy. They start doing crazy things, like still chasing something they're never going to get from the outside. And I get it. It's hard to fully accept, like fully take on board that life is just what it is and nothing more. It can feel like giving up on something grand, right? Um, but what are you actually giving up other than hopes and dreams, like basically fantasies, stories in your head? I mean, and again, this doesn't mean giving up on doing anything ever again. Like I said, you can change the temperature in the shower. You can um, make speech, write a post, whatever you want to do. But it just means giving up on denial that what is right at this moment is what it is. So, what are you giving up when you're giving up on that denial? You're giving up restlessness. You're giving up a futile and often miserable and dangerous chase. You realize there's only this, only life, just a flow of events, just happening. And some mysterious witnessing of the happening with no witness, no self. And at some point, there's no more could have or should have in a given here and now. There's very simply what is. And, the great part is that you can work with it as it is without constantly feeling like a hot potato, right? It makes clear eyed, beneficial action easier, it seems. Although you don't get any illusion that you get to choose what beneficial means or how to get there, right? There's no one to choose. There's no you to choose. As Angelo says, it's like the whole universe is choosing at every moment, and you're just a part of that. You can't. I mean, you can try to sort of dig your heels in and um, yeah, dig your heels in against the flow. Maybe that's what resistance is. Is just this this illusion we're apparently born with or bequeathed by our by our culture and our parents or whatever. Um, that we can that we know better than the universe. And again, it's understandable because so many of our childhoods are not that happy or healthy. And so, of course, it makes sense to be like, I bet this could be better. And and you're right, it could be. Your own particular childhood was what it was, slash is what it is. Um, in fact, today I was just feeling some kind of way about seeing my dad's old house. I saw it on Zillow, it was gutted, totally redone. And I could still kind of see the bone. I could still kind of see the outline, the layout, and remember all the different memories I had in each part of it, even though it just looks completely different now, not even close to the same. Um, and there was a kind of feeling of outrage, like how could you just erase my childhood memories, right? But at the same time, it's like, why would I care? I didn't like my childhood, right? But then I was kind of thinking, maybe I've suppressed, maybe even then I suppressed the things that I did like because, I was overall unhappy. But there were moments of joy and wonder even in that house. There were unique things, miraculous things, even in the most unpromising seeming of times and places. As a kid, I found simple things to feel some wonder about, like climbing out of, we had a kind of low window in my room. I could climb out of it right to the backyard, or um, I could talk to my brother in his room through the vents, or my dad had a kind of drill bit thing that was at the um, close to the entrance, and that was kind of fascinating. And the closet under the stairs, and the pictures above the mantle that were, I have no idea what happened to them. My dad was a bad hoarder, and we ended up selling the house without doing much of a clean out because nobody wanted to do that. And I was pregnant and I didn't want to be in a house full of mouse feces and stuff. So, um, or the junk room upstairs and finding my mom's stash of strawberry lip gloss. There's or playing with worms in the gutter. There's like these little things that there was some joy. I'm not gonna write a novel about it, but it's somehow it's somehow helping me to unlock joy, to remember that there was joy in childhood that I maybe suppressed because I wanted to justify my anger and unhappiness because nobody else was doing that. Nobody else was validating my feelings. So anyway, tangent, sorry. Um, yeah, so Frank Yang wrote, after the ninth fetter is dropped, you enter a permanent flow state and realize it's always been this way. Every moment is synchronicity. Every moment is the perfect manifestation created by no one. Interconnectedness and dependent origination becomes a visceral, lived experience. There's only life, and life never makes mistakes. And that sounds beautiful, and I can't say I'm there yet, even though I've seen glimpses of it. I feel like there's still a lot more to work through somatically, um, which essentially is kind of like more shadow work, but maybe the shadow work is going to be more abstract in a way because it might not always be tied to a narrative. But that's true all along too. So who knows? Who knows what the difference is? But yeah, the ninth fetter to me seems like more shadow work, basically. And I've heard that it can take months after the eighth fetter falls, and that's fine. It is what it is. So anyway, that brings us to the 10th fetter, ignorance or not knowing, or you could say identification with knowledge. And, I've been bumping up against this one, of course, from the very beginning. I mean, sort of chipping away at it little by little in many different ways, because there's always been a strong desire to know, to pin everything down since I was a child. When I was younger, I thought someone somewhere knew what the hell was going on, right? And kind of slowly you grow up and realize it's not the case. But I still had a fantasy that I could be the one to figure it all out, right? And that's a fantasy that dies hard. And like so many other mental constructs, it emerges in many different guises. Like sometimes even as like anger, that I was set down here in this bizarre reality, and no one had the courtesy to tell me what the hell was going on. Um, I was left to figure it out first as a helpless child, then as a traumatized adult, and now as a spiritual seeker in a community full of people who say, you'll know less and less until you know nothing at all. Great, thanks. Um, Apparently, when the 10th fetter falls, you're fully okay with this not knowing. You accept that you can't know how things are, much less why. Whatever you think or perceive, you can't know what really is or how it relates to the truth of what the nature of reality actually is. So, in a way, you're completely ignorant um, once you're fully enlightened. And Frank Yang says that knowing nothing also means knowing everything. And again, if that's true, I'm not there yet. I don't feel like I know everything. Um, I don't know what I am. I don't know what to do. And that's still kind of hard. Um, yeah. So, anyway, if Donald Rumsfeld, kind of random, I know, but if he said one semi coherent or interesting thing, it was his little speech about the matrix of what's known and unknown. So, first you have known knowns. It's what you know, you know. I'm an American woman. Sky is blue. Although, of course, Almost anything you can try to say that's true turns out to be subjective. What does American mean? What is a woman? Uh, who says that frequency of light is blue? Anyway, so yeah, there's no such thing as something that's really known for sure by the mind, but there is an illusion of knowing. So, so then you have known unknowns. So I know that I don't know exactly what happens after people die. I know that we don't yet have a grand unified theory of physics. I know I can't exactly predict the next big solar storm. I know we live in really uncertain times and I have no idea how it's going to shake out. So that's the known unknowns. Then you have the unknown unknowns. So, for Rumsfeld, this is a cop out. This is just a way to cover his ass about not having any evidence for Iraq having WMDs, right? He's like, well, there's no evidence, so let's just assume whatever I want and believe to be the case because, it'd be too dangerous to do otherwise. And it's similar to, certain religious people saying things like, I can't prove Jesus is the only way to salvation, but that's just a test. We have to have faith and believe it or we're going to hell. It's too dangerous to believe otherwise. Um, so that's one way to use that square of the matrix. Put your preferred belief there and just assume it's true on faith. Um, yeah. Another way to use the square is to fully, deeply begin to grapple with the fact that there is so much our little minds cannot even begin to fathom. Like we literally don't even know what we don't know. Probably we can't. Um, like when I had my mystical experience at age 23, the notion of feeling or knowing were both just so minuscule, like to the point of meaninglessness. I mean, I just the most infinitesimal part of infinity, if that makes sense. Like everything just was, and it was so far beyond exquisite and completely full to the brim. Like a human mind has absolutely nothing to say about that. It's like it's like a toddler with $1 billion, right? A toddler cannot even begin to comprehend that number or its implications or her insane luck, right? Or like a tiny little teacup, like toy teacup under Niagara Falls, right? It's just laughable. Like all you can do is laugh like a grateful, amazed fool. Um, I mean, that's what it felt like to me. And again, it's one thing to have like a mystical experience. It's another thing to actually have realization. So I had the experience, still working on the realization. But it seems that once we reach that full humility, that admission of total unknowing, and we kind of start to get comfortable with it, I guess, there's just nothing left but trusting the universe. I mean, what else are you going to trust? Your own little mind compared to that, compared to infinity? I mean, it's yeah. So, and in my 20s, after college, when I lost faith in the way our society set up what it means to be successful, like all my sort of my prestigious options, I was just like, I don't want to do any of that. So what the hell do I do? It's like all that was left was putting my faith in my intuition and the universe. I didn't know what the hell else to do, where else to look. And it was really, it was incredible. Um, it was magical. It was beautiful. It opened up so many possibilities and taught me so much that God, I never could have learned in a book or made up myself. And of course, I was bypassing because I didn't know about shadow work. Uh, and I'm really grateful for that ability to bypass. It was by far the best I could do at that time. But of course, the shadow was still waiting. And eventually I crashed against it. And then at age 42, I couldn't ignore it anymore. So that was 3 years ago. And yeah, I'm still on the path. And something in me still wants to be omnipotent and omniscient. Maybe, maybe there's a part of me that remembers being God, and instead of trying to manifest that as a human, like Elon Musk seems to be trying to do, um, the proper thing, instead of trying to brute force your way into it, is to relax into it. And then in a way, you kind of relax into your natural omnipotence and omniscience, which is connected to the Great Spirit, whatever you want to call it. Um, I don't know. Again, not there yet. But yeah, I still want to know everything and offer my sage advice to God about how to improve this place. Very adorable, but still there. I still get triggered by stuff, especially bullies. So definitely haven't broken all the fetters or unbound from all the biting yet. But yeah, it seems like a little bit of a preview of what might be coming. Which again, maybe it's like the silliest thing in the world to try to preview stuff that is, uh, beyond comprehension. But anyway, that's it. 10th fetter.